And this segment was brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sports booking app. And we know sports booking isn't allowed everywhere. We know this. But we do know fantasy football is, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people love fantasy football. And a lot of people love the opportunity to make some money. So what if I told you that DraftKings has combined with fantasy football and they have a fantasy football app where they're giving out $1 million worth of prizes every week? I mean, that sounds pretty good, right?
Sounds amazing.
I agree. And you know me, I was in retirement. You were in retirement. We weren't even fantasy football guys. When they broke out this deal, along with the promo code Moats, giving us up to $1,000 in deposit bonus money, we both came out of retirement. We said, look, take our jerseys out the rafters. We're coming back, man. We are coming back. So what are you waiting on, man? Make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app or download DraftKings Fantasy Football app. Use the promo code Moats and go out there and get that opportunity to make a little money. This first question, it looks like it's from Vincent Flory. Shout out to Vincent Flory. How does Tyson Alualu's impact on run defense? Make sure because I'm reading it as is right now, man. So how does Tyson impact the run game? And more importantly, it seems like when he is gone, we are really hurting there. But when he's back, it seems like it's back to normal. Honestly, I mean, when you talk about Tyson's impact, then when he controls the line of scrimmage, he dominates the interior portion of it as it pertains to the run game. When you're talking about centers and guards trying to single block him, a lot of time, man, he's getting their grass. And when I talk about their grass, I'm talking 1 to 2 yards in the backfield. That's the goal as a D lineman. You don't want to get 3, 4, 5 yards, especially on run plays, because you'll create natural seams and natural gaps for a runner to just avoid you and get positive yards. But Tyson does a good job of getting that 1 to 2 yards of penetration, and his hand placement is key. When you watch him on tape, he's a very fundamentally sound player. He always has both of his hands in the driver's seat in terms of getting to the steering wheel, the offensive lineman's breastplate or numbers. He always has 2 hands there, inside hands, and he's always shocking, locking, and keeping his body moving. Those are the keys to being consistent as a D lineman. Those are the keys to just being a very productive player across that front. And he does it play in and play out. I feel like, honestly, outside of Cam, he's probably the most consistent guy on that front as it pertains to just being fundamentally sound and playing in the run game. And that's why a large amount of tackle for losses are happened when he's on the field. You look at how Vince and Robert are able to play downhill so fast. That's because Tyson's out there, man. He keeps those guys clean. He is a true penetrator through the interior part of that offensive line. And I mean, you add to the fact he's from that 2010 draft class. You know that class, they got like all the just amazing players in it or whatever. But he's a part of that class, and he was at the beginning of that class. So you know he's an extra high pedigree guy. And that all plays into why he's able to be so successful and why when he's out there, the run game looks so good. But not only him, Mike Hilton being back out there played a huge role as well, man. He's a guy that, I mean, we talk about him as a blitzer, but he does great things in the run game in terms of forcing action, in terms of tackling. So he's another reason why the run game from a defensive standpoint looked really good out there.
Dude, I got 2 things. One, I was really trying to find this graphic because it goes hand in hand with this question. Maybe that's why the question was asked, but there was a graphic that popped up on Instagram yesterday, and it was with Alualu on it, and then there was 2 stats. It was like, our yards per carry on defense when Alualu's out, it was like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And then yards per carry when Alualu's in, it was like 1.9 or just in the 1s or 2s or something like that. I was trying to find it. I wanted to be exact, but that was essentially what it was. So I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with what we're saying. And I think it was what games has he missed?
He just missed Ravens and Titans. I want to say Ravens, Titans, and maybe Dallas. I think Dallas.
It might have been Dallas.
Yeah, I think Dallas, because his first game back was Cincinnati last week.
Because I remember us talking about that a few weeks ago. Like, what's Tyson Alualu's impact? Yeah. And you kind of said the same thing. Like, he's been awesome for us this year.
Absolutely, man. And another thing too, I will say is we do have to remember with some of those stats when they talk about him being off the field, that includes like sub package ball as well. And we know typically, I mean, a team, it could be 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 15. They do give up ball, run it,
7 yards.
You know what I mean? So that does also skew it because let's be real. Even when he's not on the field for the sub ball, we still have played really well in the run game in terms of defense, and that's the part where I talk about Mike Hilton as well.
That's definitely fair.
Yeah, so they all go hand in hand, but that does play a little bit into that, just because we've seen teams do that now versus where they're not going to take too many shots downfield because they know just between the pass rush and the secondary, hey, man, let's just minimize the damage, run the ball, get about this down, punt, play field position. So that plays into it as well. But, man, Tyson's impact has been crazy. I mean, he's one of those guys, just like Joe Hayden, man. He's come here and it's almost revitalized his career. He's been looking great since he's been here, man.
Yeah. Second thing I wanted to say was, even though we did, for the most part, contain the run, or we looked good against the run yesterday, I like James Robinson, man, on their team. Dude, he looks good, man.
Bro, I mean, let's really still had, 17 carries for 73 yards?
Well, that's
he still was productive.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Even more impressive being with that quarterback and just that offense, how it is to get 75, what was it, 75 yards?
73. Yeah.
73 yards, over 4 yards a carry when your offense is just completely stagnant.
But that's why when you heard Robert Spillane talk about it on the interview, he spoke highly of him. Coach Tomlin spoke highly of him. When you watch him on tape, he is a good running back. It's a reason why, going into the game, he was 5th in the league in rushing yards. He's very decisive. He runs with a physical demeanor. He looks like he's trying to score or punish the guy who's trying to tackle him. Those are signs of really good running backs. And if you're doing that in a system where, like you said, Jake Luton is your quarterback, and we know that he's limited in what he can do from a passing standpoint, you know that everyone is keying on you because he's the person that keeps them in the game. Even when, watching the game, we knew, I think when we got up 17-3, even though we felt the game was in control, it didn't get gory because he was still able to keep them on track. And that's what we talked about going into the game. We said, if you don't
catches there too,
he's going to make plays, but he's the person that keeps them on schedule and keeps these games close, even though it doesn't feel close. So, you're looking at the score 10-3, 17-3, and it's like, it's not terrible, but you're like, dang, man, they're just still hanging around, and it's because of him. But that's been their MO all season. And the difference this game versus in the past was, typically, they haven't turned the ball over. Yesterday, they turned the ball over, and that was the difference. When you turn the ball over, that's how you can make these games get out of hand. But you take away the turnovers, and it's going exactly how we said it would be. In terms of us being in control, never feeling like it's a threat, but them still just being in the mix.
Yeah, because one of them was down in the red zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Minka pick. One. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It was, I like I said, I thought it was a good game overall. Defense was good, and obviously with Alualu. Mm-hmm. Being a focal point there.
Absolutely, man. So shout out to Vincent. That was a good question right